Well, hello, friends. This is Pastor Larry Wiley again. I want to talk to you today about my life as a pastor slash minister. The last time I talked about this, I told you about the first church I pastored, which is a church that I actually pioneered right here in my hometown of Moultrie, Georgia, in 1975. And back in those days, the church organization that I was with felt like they too needed to change. Pastors needed to change about every 3 to 4 years, 2 to 4 years actually. So it was coming up on 3 years. I'd actually been there 3 years, and I felt like it was time to move on to the next church. So I put in for a change, and the change came a little slower than I'd anticipated. But nonetheless, it came, it worked out. I went to our general conference that year. And when I went to the general conference, I went there. I had already told my church, it was my first church, so I didn't know any better. So I told my church that I would be leaving. And that was a mistake. I should not have told them until I knew that I had another church to go to. But nonetheless, it worked out. They didn't want me to go, but nonetheless, it was time I felt like, and it worked out. But we moved from Moultrie, Georgia, which is the county I grew up in, pastored here, and then we moved to Dawsonville, Georgia. Now, I had never in my life been to Dawsonville, Georgia. If you know anything about Dawsonville, Georgia is the home of the championship NASCAR driver Bill Elliott. In fact, Bill Elliott's best friend's mother was a treasurer at that church I went to in Dawsonville. When we left Moultrie, we were living in a very small parsonage, kind of run down. We bought the property, bought 9 acres of property, built a church there while we were there. But we moved from there to Dawsonville, and the parsonage that we moved into Dawsonville was a new parsonage. It had only been lived in, I think, if I remember correctly, 3 months. And the people at Dawsonville was just so, they welcomed us with open arms, and it just really worked out great for us. I got to tell you a little funny story there. Dawsonville is at the foot of the mountains. I mean, you go just 10 miles from Dawsonville, you're in Dahlonega, Georgia, which is basically where the Appalachian Trail actually started, just a few miles from Dawsonville. Beautiful, beautiful side of it that way. But nonetheless, the people in Dawsonville welcomed us very friendly, and we were so excited to get there. The first Sunday night I was there, the pianist in the church, her name was Diane, and we were standing there talking after church that night. Everyone else had gone home, and we were standing there talking to Diane, her husband, and she looked at her husband and she said, "Tony, we got to go home. I got to go wash my hair." Now, not everybody in Dawsonville talked like that, but a lot of them did. That was their kind of mountain talk. But I picked at Diane the rest of the time I was at Dawsonville. Dawsonville was a good church, had a nice parsonage. Of course, in those days, the church was not able to pay me enough to make a living at just pastoring, so I had to get out and get jobs. I worked in different jobs. When I first went to work there, I had an insurance license selling insurance, so I sold insurance. Worked for a company there in Gainesville, Georgia. Gainesville, Georgia, by the way, is where Jensen Franklin pastored, but that was before Jensen went to that church. Nice town, nice area. Dawsonville is a very small town. I mean, literally, very, very small town. Dawsonville, Georgia was a county seat. They had a county courthouse right in the middle of the road, the two crossroads going through Dawsonville. But Dawsonville, Georgia was a church that just was, like I said, they received us very warmly. We had a good ministry there. The church experienced some growth. We had probably about, was at Dawsonville 3 years, and we had about a 30% growth, and maybe a little bit more. But now the pastor that followed me there, I mean, the church really grew after he went there. He was able to take the church to the next level. Did a great, great, great great job. They tore down the building and built a new church. But I met some of the finest people in Dawsonville that I ever met in my life. Just very, very good people, great people to work with. Bill Elliott's aunt actually cut my hair. I actually had hair to cut then. You might say, well, Pastor Wiley, why are you wearing that cap? I'm wearing this cap so I can cover up my naked head. I don't want to come on a video with a naked head. But nonetheless, Dawsonville was good for us. We spent 3 years. Let's see, I went there in September of 78, and I left the last Sunday of January of 1982. So we had a good time there. Loved it, loved that area. When I left Moultrie to go to Dawsonville, I was praying about where to go, and I told the Lord, I said, Lord, most people that I knew loved the mountains, but I didn't particularly like the mountains. So I prayed, and I said, Lord, send me anywhere you want me to go except the mountains. And lo and behold, if I didn't wind up at the foot of the mountains, but really loved it, really loved those mountain people. Worked with a contractor there for a while, and worked with another lot bigger construction man. In fact, we were working on a house one time on Lake Lanier, which was north of Dawsonville. And one day a man came by, was working on his house, was adding on to his little, they called it a cabin, but was adding on more than he already had. The man pulls up, and the man in the car that owned the cabin, I didn't know this, his name was Mr. Rogers. And Mr. Rogers was the founder of Waffle House. So I got to meet the founder of Waffle House. And ironically, he had a man with him who was a deputy sheriff in my county, where I grew up in, and later became the sheriff of our county. A good man as far as I know. But anyway, had a great time there, and we left there after that time, and we went to Hartwell, Georgia. Hartwell, Georgia, we pastored the Mount Olivet Church of God. The church in Dawsonville, by the way, was named Dawsonville Church of God, but the church in Hartwell was named Mount Olivet Church of God. And it was the first church that I was able to go to and become what I call a full-time pastor. By that, I mean I didn't have to work and pastor. But I won't talk about that today. We'll leave that to the next video, talking about churches and pastoring. But as our time as a pastoral ministry, the pastoral ministry was good for me. We had a few tough times, but we mostly had great times. And we had great times in Dawsonville. People loved us, and we loved them, and kind of hated to leave there, but I kind of felt like it was time to go. Let me tell you this before I go. I was on my knees praying in my bedroom one day, and I was praying about another pastoral change. That was leaving Dawsonville. My telephone rang, and a good friend of mine said, Larry, I know where a church. He knew I was looking for a church. He said, I know where a church is. He told me the name of church, Mount Olivet. I said, where's that? He said, Hartwell, Georgia. I said, where's that? I've never been to Hartwell. But I picked up the phone. I called a bishop, and he said, where you been, son? I've been looking for you. I said, what do you need from me? He said, I got a church I want you to go look at. And we went there and had a great time there. But anyway, we'll call this a done deal for today. I appreciate you folks watching. If you will, please like, subscribe. Please do that. Like, subscribe, and share this video. That'll help the word get out to other people to watch our videos. I really appreciate you tuning in today. Let's say a little prayer. Would you, Father, I thank you for all of my viewers today. I pray for each one. If there's anyone listening today that happened not to be a born-again Christian, help them to commit their life to you, Jesus, today. Help them to say, Father, forgive me my sin. Jesus, come into my life. I give you my life. I want you to be the Lord of my life, and I receive you as my Lord in Jesus' name. Thank you, my friends. Until the next video, this is Larry Wiley. I'll see you next time.